All right, everybody. We've gone off of video here. This is Carter Malloy speaking, the founder of the company, and with me today is Aaron Shu, our CTO. We're excited to dig in with you and appreciate you spending time with us today. If you deal with land acquisition, development, or transactions, you already know the way that land gets found, how you evaluate it, and how ultimately it gets decided on. And you know that hasn't kept pace really with the speed of your business demands. So what we're here to show you today is how Acres Intelligence is changing that equation entirely. Not by adding another tool to your stack, but by fundamentally changing how your team works, giving you speed, giving you clarity, and ultimately the confidence to move faster than ever before. So Acres works on the most current and reliable land data available nationwide. And over the next 30 minutes, you're going to see exactly what that looks like in practice. All right. If any of these hit close to home, you're not alone. These are the conversations we have every day with land teams across the country. Manual filtering, zoning rabbit holes, the deal that looked great until it didn't and it died and wasted a month or months of your life. Those aren't process failures, they're symptoms of a bigger problem, which is really the tools that we all have not kept up with the complexity of the work. And I think that's what Acres Intelligence is really here to solve. So before we get into the how, which we're really excited to share with you today, let's first talk about why AI is the right solution for land development right now. So first is to address this uncomfortable truth, which is teams in your market, likely somebody you already compete with, are already using AI to validate sites faster, to go look at more deals, and to look at risks and avoid costly risks before they derail the deals. And AI is changing the way things are possible and what's possible ultimately in land development and land acquisition. What Acres is doing differently is bringing every layer of land data from ownership through to zoning, through to environmental signals, infrastructure like water and sewer, and of course the broader parcel context, bringing all that into one system where your team can easily search, ask questions, and make decisions without jumping between a bunch of platforms or waiting on third parties. And that's really what we're here to talk about today, is the teams winning today aren't working harder. They're working with better intelligence. So a quick agenda. First, we're going to ground ourselves in AI and land development, where it actually creates leverage in your day-to-day. Then we're going to briefly go through AI and ethics, because AI is ultimately as good as the data behind it. And accuracy, transparency, and control matter more than ever. From there, we're going to talk about how AI changes prospecting. This is some really exciting new stuff we're sharing with you today. How you move from broad geographic hunting and pecking and manually clicking around to very precise criteria-driven site selection and site discovery instantly. Then we're going to go through and look at entitlement and research, where teams traditionally burn tons of time decoding zoning, calling munis, and interpreting various regulations. We're going to go through some instant feasibility checks, so how you quickly surface those potentially fatal flaws, the hidden issues, and the development signals before you deploy capital, consultants, or even your time. And then we're going to close out with some of what's next, where we are headed as a company and where this technology is going. And we'll have a little bit of time at the end for Q&A. The goal today, though, is not theory. It's showing you how AI integrates into the real decisions that you and your team are making every day and every week. So lastly, and I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Shu here, concrete about why this matters. The data exists, the zoning code exists, the flood maps exist, comps exist. You're used to these things. But what slows us all down is stitching all that together across platforms, PDFs, GIS layers, local websites, phone calls, Excel, and on and on. And ultimately taking all that information and turning it into a confident decision. That's where we come in and create leverage. We help you compress weeks of scouting research into minutes. We help you find parcels before your competitors do. Take zoning complexity down to seconds, not days. Find those site risks in the first minute, not 3 months later after serious time and serious thousands of dollars. Ultimately, look, we're here to support faster and more confident go and no-go decisions. So Acres and Acres Intelligence does not replace your judgment, but rather we arm you with better intelligence faster. So I'm going to hand it over now to our Chief Technology Officer, Dr. Aaron Shu, and he's going to discuss what AI is good at and not good at first.
Thanks, Carter. Yeah, let's look here for a second at what large language models, which is what everyone refers to as AI now, what are they extremely good at and what are they not so good at? Large language models, just as it says, are exceptional at writing and communication, drafting emails, summarizing reports, even preparing client-ready explanations in some cases. They're really good at research and analysis. So if you're digging through a bunch of PDFs from your Muni or zoning codes, um, it's going to do okay at pulling some text, but it can't relate that to a map, which is what it struggles with. So it's looking at language tasks are very good. Research tasks are very good, but it's going to be very poor at site interpretation, geospatial context, and market judgments. So it's going to need some local data that often does not exist anywhere else. It's going to require some local expertise and deal level intuition, again, that an LLM is not going to have access to. And so that's where, when you combine complete land data with AI and your local expertise, it's going to become truly powerful. So let's call that out specifically here. AI really is not that good if it doesn't have data. In fact, it's terrible when it doesn't have data. So every search, every answer, and every decision that Acres Intelligence delivers is only going to be as good as the data that powers it. And that's something we take incredibly seriously and invest the most heavily in across our tech team. So Acres Intelligence draws from the most current, reliable land data available nationwide, covering ownership, parcel context, zoning, infrastructure, and much, much more. But most importantly, we're a data company first and foremost. And so the intelligence layer that sits on top of that is only as powerful as that data that underlies it. So come and join us on this tour today to talk more about the comprehensive hyperlocal data that we have across the country. Everything Acres Intelligence does runs on that data, and not just any data. We're talking about 150 million parcel records, 45 million land transactions, 60 million mortgages, and thousands of map layers and data sources, all of which are updated very continuously. So this is the foundation. So without it, even the best AI is just guessing. When we say Acres Intelligence gives your team fast, confident answers, this is why you can trust it. And we're continuously adding more based on what our customers need and demand every day. In addition to the powerful and growing foundation of data within Acres, we're always adding new types of data. Just in the last month or so, we've added nationwide building permits, traffic data, weekly satellite imagery, skip tracing, street view, and there's a lot more coming. Every addition makes Acres Intelligence sharper and the decisions your team makes more informed. Now let's talk about how we think about the responsibility that comes with all of this data. Ethics and data ownership are paramount. Anyone you work with that's offering an AI solution, you should be critical about compliance and security. It is important that your data remains just that. It's your data. We work with a substantial number of Fortune 500 and Fortune 100 companies, and many have similar policies that we adhere to. Client data remains a walled garden protected by SOC 2 Type 2 audited compliance. And our security team is happy to visit with you anytime regarding security and client data questions.
All right, this is Carter stepping back in here as we'll step in now to look at some of this live. So what are some of the things that Acres Intelligence can really solve? And what does that look like in practice? We're going to walk through some basics here, some three primary use cases today together. First is finding the right parcels without burning your time. Second is getting clear answers on zoning without spending days on the phone. Then lastly is running a full feasibility check with tons and tons of tools and data without having to, all in one place rather. So you're not having to rely on dozens of websites and third-party tools, consultants, and just an array of complexity. So the first experience we want to show you is how AI transforms the way your team finds land within Acres. Right now, that process, even with Acres, is still very manual. It's very slow and is full of dead ends. Anyone in land acquisition or site selection or brokerage knows the dramatic amount of your day you spend looking for something, which can be very frustrating because you actually know what you're looking for, but having to manually hunt and peck through this data. So after some pretty major breakthroughs in geospatial science from our data science and from our engineering teams, we're really excited to bring you this new Acres Intelligence search capability. Basically, your team describes exactly what they're looking for. Search based on your criteria. That can be acreage, flood, zoning, proximity to utilities, or consideration across thousands and thousands of other data layers across acres. And ultimately, the result is a short list of parcels directly aligned with your development plans. Those are going to be surfaced immediately before your team commits a single hour or even minute to manual research. So only the sites worth pursuing make the cut. We'll hop over to the next slide here and watch a quick video to see what this looks like in practice. So we're going to go through 3 examples here. The first is in Atlanta metro area. We've typed in roughly our buy box, what we're looking for, which is 40-acre sites with certain type of flood and slope characteristics. They need to be buildable for residential, but also not have buildings on them. As you can see, in a matter of moments, our AI went and searched through all that contextual data and surfaced the immediate parcels relevant to your search in your buy box. Of course, we provide the context like sewer and zoning, so you can immediately be informed as to whether or not this parcel fits specifically what you're looking for. Now, Northwest Arkansas, that's a pretty broad search. Find me all the 3-acre vacant parcels near within a mile of a Whole Foods in Northwest Arkansas. As you can see, the AI takes all that context and boils it down very rapidly to show only vacant parcels that fit my criteria within a mile of that Whole Foods. Again, what we've done here is narrow a very long amount of clicking into a short amount of time. And lastly, we'll look at things, this works across all of our data sets. So how about comparable sales? Let's look across this county. Same thing, we're looking for vacant land in the last 6 months. I just type in the type of comps I'm looking for, automatically produces me a list. And each of those I can go through, which are all the way through last month or the last month. I can dive into any one that looks particularly pertinent to my search. So you can see 3 widely varying different use cases there to rapidly speed up your search. So what does it look like in real life? Look, your team might be manually working through records or calls or spreadsheets trying to find off-market opportunities. And with Acres Intelligence, all they do is describe their ideal parcel, put it in their natural language, any of those types of constraints or proximity considerations you may have, whether that is sewer or a Whole Foods. And Acres Intelligence is going to instantly surface the matching parcels on the map for you. So if you're wondering how specific can I get, the answer is very, right? A smart search, the more filter criteria you put in here, the better your output is going to be, or the more specific it's going to be. So acreage restraints, what county or area you're looking for, flood, slope, usage, whether I'm including assemblages or excluding developments, or including Whole Foods, whatever that may be. It's up to you and how your team does their site selection. But importantly, is with more precise input comes more precise results. As another example of how to work with Acres Intelligence, look, as you saw when I gave it a broad set of constraints in Northwest Arkansas, it figured it out for me. So you can put in this first prompt, and Acres is going to have some pretty surprising insights. But you already know that your specific buy box. So instead of just saying, find these sites near Publix, you can get very specific down to what kind of traffic you're looking for near that site, what actual proximity you're looking for, the types of road frontage, the types of buildings or lack of buildings you're looking for, and so on and so forth. That's going to ultimately return you just the sites worth pursuing and not a list you have to sort through. As we were testing this, we're continuing to find a lot of novel applications that may help your business. Importantly, this product is still in beta with select customers. So if you'd like access within your account, please let your Acres representative know, as we'll be conducting much broader rollouts here in the coming days and weeks. As you can see here on the left, these are just some of the additional use cases we're already stumbling across inside of this tool and adding to it every day. So we've discussed search, and now I'm going to hand it over to Aaron to discuss zoning.
Yeah, so that our zoning chat is already live in the tool, and this is going to alleviate one of the most time-consuming parts of land evaluation. We know that getting zoning wrong costs a lot of time, money, and sometimes deals entirely. You don't want to get halfway through a deal and then find that rezoning is not a likelihood. So with Acres Intelligence, your team can actually search based on a specific zoning criteria. So you're only going to be looking at parcels that directly align with your intended land use from the start or a potential rezoning land use. And when questions come up, whether it's classifications or restrictions or setbacks, your team's going to get those answers in seconds as opposed to days or weeks. And there's no more calls to the planning office, no more decoding a bunch of dense PDF documents or spreadsheets. You can just chat specifically with the zoning information on your parcels. And so this isn't just a canned answer. It's a really important piece of this. It's not just a canned answer coming from ChatGPT. This is coming from a set of zoning agents that are trained on acres, deep and proprietary zoning data. And this is going to be paired with web access to augment for things like moratoria or recent trends that can change on a weekly basis. So Acres Intelligence changes how your team gets answers on zoning, and we're going to show you exactly how that works. So here we're actually going to my hometown over in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I see that our zoning date is within the last week, and initially our zoning agent is going to look through the data set, find related data to understand those basics. Think setbacks and densities and any restrictions that might be important for that specific area. And then after that, we have our bases covered on the basics. So then it's going to give us some suggestions for additional insights we might get. Think impact fees or timelines for development. Those are much more difficult to come by without a lot of research outside of this specific tool. So what used to take days is now taking seconds, and the answers are grounded in the most current reliable zoning data available nationwide. So now let's talk about what else Acres Intelligence can do to keep your team ahead of the market. So for the day-to-day zoning questions, here's what that looks like in the before and after. Your team spends days calling counties, digging through PDFs manually just to determine basic feasibility. And even that's probably for a single parcel or maybe a few. Now they can ask Acres Intelligence directly. And of course, it's going to surface the regulations and restrictions of that sort. But more importantly, it can also fetch critical information like permitting timelines or impact fees that are also very important for successful projects. It's going to be able to do this across the country on a plat map, and that's a major differentiator here, is that geospatial component across the country. Take this a step further, we've partnered with another AI company, Hamlet, to also zoom out and look at trend data. So this is another use case that doesn't get talked about enough, which is rezoning sentiment. If you're in land development, you're looking for opportunities, and what's currently zoned often isn't enough. So we've partnered with Hamlet to surface how shifts in how the municipality feels about development might disrupt the process. So in areas that you're actively working, this would be particularly important. So Hamlet provides this data, uses their AI to evaluate sentiment and synthesizes data across thousands of community meetings, videos, and council hearings to extract that sentiment data every week. So through our partnership with Hamlet, Acres Intelligence now surfaces important sentiment changes across city councils, so your team can see those shifts before they're surprises later in the deal process. Similar to the search component we discussed, land use is a large world, and you'll find strong uses outside of just zoning. We've got a list here of a number of those other cases, whether it's rezoning examples, again, looking at what is the most likely zone to become residential or commercial that isn't currently. Moratoria timelines, these are changing rapidly in certain parts of the country. Impact fees, which can dramatically increase the cost to develop. And that's just to name a few. The same principles are applied here, just as they are in searching and prospecting. The more specific we can be with the AI chat, the better the response is going to be. Now, we can take the weak approach here, tell me about R1 zoning, and it's going to give you a pretty good response. It'll tell you about R1 zoning wherever you happen to be. But the smarter approach is to ask it more specific information. Tell me about single family housing with ADUs on this parcel, and tell me what the design requirements look like for that. So now that we have prospecting and zoning clarity, uh, let's look at one of the most powerful Acres intelligence experiences in speeding up early stage diligence.
All right, so this is Carter speaking again. What we're discussing here is pulling together data from dozens of different sources can take your team days or weeks. And with Acres Intelligence, your team's running a feasibility check with a single click, instantly seeing things like flood zones, elevation, the parcel details, satellite history, and even skip tracing, all in one central place. Every environmental, regulatory, and financial factor is connected in an easy to see interactive panel, so nothing gets missed and nothing gets discovered too late. So let's see how that plays out for land teams here. The quick video overview. So here I'm selecting a parcel in Pennsylvania, and I'm able to see, of course, the broad overview from the assessor's office. Can also grab skip tracing data. We've blurred it out for privacy, but we can really dig in quickly and understand the full history of this parcel according to the local county courthouse and assessor's office. We can also then look into the folks behind it. So we're going to go through and unmask each of these owner groups and any potential LLCs, mortgages, or parcel purchases associated with them. So great, we've got a sense of the history and the folks behind it. Now let's dive in and understand what's happening in this area. So we can immediately see imagery. That's last week is when that imagery from. It's February 28th of last week. We can also look back at historical imagery, so get an understanding of, at high resolution, how this parcel has evolved over the last 15 or so years. And of course, things like elevation, flood zone risks, wetlands, your underlying soil profiles, land cover, a lot of other additional contextual data like power. Are there any other phase one potential gotchas hanging out on this thing, as well as conservation easements and things like noise that may impact my ability to develop here. So in short, beforehand, the land team spending a lot of time analyzing a property and ultimately spending thousands of due diligence, across just some of the things we've shared there, only to sometimes uncover an issue with an underground storage tank, after a month or two and thousands of dollars here. Those types of risks are known or they can be known and now are known inside of Acres. So instead of having that kill your deal at the last minute or inflate the costs, we're able to surface that for you in the first 1 minute of clicking on a parcel. Like all the other things we've discussed today, the summary parcel card provides extensive data about every property in the US, instantly summarized. This is what Acres is all about. Everything you need, all in one place. Truly the home for your land business. So for a couple other quick spots or potential blind spots in your diligence, we're looking at a specific example here of how AI can dramatically speed things up and save money. So this is our deed mapping tool. Manual platting is one of those things that eats hours your team doesn't have. So you often have to rely on surveyors. And that just leaves a lot of room for ultimately delays and costs. So with Deed AI, this tool here, your team's getting all that mapping and the manual work done via an AI copilot and making that happen instantly. So a great use case of that is previously this broker was waiting a month or longer on an expensive third-party surveyor to go out and map an old easement. Today, they use Acres AI to map that easement in under a minute, store it in a secure cloud-based library with the rest of their deals, saving huge delays in time and giving them immediate visibility into how that easement could impact your ability to develop this site or ultimately going to really impact the value of this property. In a classic Ron Burgundy moment here, I thought I had deleted the slide, so we'll move through it quickly. But beyond finding and evaluating sites, we're also bringing you lots of contextual information. So in this case, this is actively unmasking the entities and the real buyers behind LLCs to help you understand who is participating in what markets and see the growth before anyone else knows about it. And in practice, that's what this looks like. We're able to just see early market movement through parcel and ownership intelligence before it shows up on others' radar. As a quick preview here, you've seen today is a lot of our recent work, but there is a lot more unannounced coming soon. As an example, in the near term, we're going to be rolling out an easy, rapid site planning tool that allows you to do instant feasibility for various types of projects and products. You can continuously adjust to your needs and considerations in near real time. We're talking about this happening in seconds, not hours, not years, or months at least, but not even minutes, actual seconds in real time, so you can visually understand yield and feasibility immediately. Big picture, Acres AI is going to continue to grow, and you as users will benefit more and more from that expansion of data and from far more powerful AI tools at your disposal. So everything we walked through today, from finding parcels instantly, running feasibility checks in a single click, decoding zoning complexity in seconds, and mapping deeds and easements without the manual work. That is what it looks like to move from what's available to what's buildable instantly with Acres Intelligence. We unify every layer of land data your team needs into one system. So you're not piecing together answers from a bunch of places or waiting on third parties to tell you something. You're making faster, more confident decisions from the moment you start searching to the moment you go to contract. And that's the shift that we make possible for you. And it's built specifically for the way that land teams work. So we've got a lot of teams already using Acres Intelligence. Many of the largest home builders, the largest data center companies in the world, largest retailers, lenders, and brokerages in the country are already using Acres Intelligence to solve the exact problems we walked through today. Finding viable land faster, cutting through zoning complexity, making smarter go and no-go decisions before it costs them. These are some of the teams that are moving very fast, operating at scale, and that can't afford to get it wrong. And the teams that adopt Acres Intelligence aren't replacing their land expertise. They're multiplying it so they can move faster, catch the risks earlier, and ultimately close more of the right deals. And that's what we're all about. We're built for the way that you work and your teams work. No complex interfaces, no new stuff to learn and train on over the course of weeks and months. Just describe what you're looking for in plain language. We do the rest. So the question isn't whether AI is going to change land development. It already is. So the question is really whether your team will lead that change or react to it. We'd love to show that to you and what it looks like for your specific team and market. Please reach out to our team, info@acres.com, or book a demo directly at acres.com. Through being very verbose today, Dr. Shu and I have left a solid 2 minutes for Q&A. And there are a lot of folks on here today. So if we don't get time to answer your questions or concerns, please know that our team will reach out or reach out directly to us. Can you take into account current rents for stabilized multifamily assets? We have rents for single family. We're evaluating multifamily. We'd love to hear from you and understand what data sources are useful out there. As we like to say, if something lives on a map and we don't already have it, generally we can get it into Acres. So how can you search for vacant land, but there is a home on the track? How does that work?
Well, so in Canada, we're going to operate with, we support all the geospatial data there. We're not going to support plat maps in Canada yet, but it is something that we are evaluating for the future.
Sorry, and then to kick to you, the second question down here around vacant land and if there's a home, how does that work? The data science thing your team's working on actively.
So yes, we have a couple of different ways to do that today. You can search using assessed improvement values, which is going to tell you, again, the value of that property based on the improvements, or vacant land, which comes from county assessors. We found both of those to be, let's say, underperformant. And so we've built our own models to identify vacant-only properties, and that'll be coming out in the next month.
We've got several questions on here about replays of today. The favorite one says something like, "This is incredible. Can you please share a replay?" We will make those videos available to you if you've been here today or signed up for the webinar. So
Is the AI included in my enterprise subscription or an extra charge? No, it comes as part of your enterprise subscription. We don't upcharge for anything in enterprise.
All right, we've got a ton more questions here, so we're going to hop off given we're over time. We want to be respectful of all the folks' time here, but there's quite lots of questions around power availability and oil and gas, things like that. We absolutely have those data layers available, so please do speak to your Acres rep. And also, for most of you whose questions we didn't see or were unable to address today, please know that an Acres account representative will be reaching out to you. Or please, again, feel free to reach out to us, info@acres.com, and we'll be sure to get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you so much.
Thank you.